How do you go from being one of the most talked about creators online to completely irrelevant in just a few months? Because that's exactly what happened to Bobbi Althoff.
I didn't know I would fall off as quickly as I did. To be honest, I did think this was going to last a bit longer.
Not long ago, she was everywhere. Viral clips, massive interviews, sitting across from people like Drake.
They call me BBL Drizzy, so.
Oh, that's true. Did you?
I don't know if my wagon looked crazy when I walked in here, but.
And somehow making awkward silence entertaining. It looked like she had cracked the code, a character so unique that the internet couldn't look away. But then something strange happened. She announced she was falling off, quitting, disappearing, only to reveal it was all fake. A calculated move to relaunch herself and go even bigger. And that's where everything started to fall apart. Because instead of reviving her career, that move exposed something much worse. The viral moments stopped hitting. The interviews got harder to watch.
Yeah.
And now you feel irrelevant.
I am.
Obsolete.
Yeah.
Unpopular.
And the same audience that once made her famous started turning on her. Now she's stuck in a position most creators never recover from, trying to bring back a version of herself that people no longer believe in.
Do you think going back to this old character, this persona, would help you?
Yeah, it would help me.
Okay.
I think.
And the deeper you look into her story, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just a fall off. It was self-inflicted. Before everything started falling apart, Bobbi Althoff had something most creators spend years trying to figure out. A formula that just worked. Her rise wasn't built on traditional charisma, insane editing, or even deep interviews. It was the opposite. She leaned into awkward silence, blunt responses, almost uncomfortable energy. Instead of trying to impress her guests, she made things weird. And that's exactly what made people watch.
Would you date someone with kids?
How many kids we talking?
Like 6.
Hell no.
When she sat across from celebrities, it didn't feel like a normal interview. It felt unpredictable, like anything could happen. And in an internet full of polished content, that awkward deadpan style stood out instantly. Clips started going viral everywhere. Then came the big cosigns. Names like Drake and Lil Yachty didn't just boost her visibility.
And pleasant.
Pleasant. I don't know about that.
I know. I don't
I think
know.
that was just a word you.
I'm trying to get you brand deals.
They launched her into a completely different level of fame. Suddenly, she wasn't just another creator. She was the creator people were talking about. And for a moment, it looked like she had everything locked in. Millions of views, a recognizable brand, a style nobody else could copy without looking forced. But here's the problem. No one was talking about it at the time. That entire rise was built on a character, not a connection.
In my old videos, I would play this character, this girl who was unlikable, didn't research anyone she interviewed.
People weren't watching because they loved her. They were watching because the bit was entertaining. And that distinction might not seem like a big deal at first, but it's exactly what made everything so fragile. At first, the awkward, emotionless persona felt intentional, like Bobbi Althoff had found a lane and was playing it perfectly. But the longer she stayed in that role, the harder it became to separate the character from who she actually was. Behind the scenes, she admitted that a lot of it was acting. The blunt tone, the dry delivery, the lack of reaction, it was all part of the performance. But to the audience, it didn't feel like acting. It felt real. And that's where things started to get messy. People couldn't tell if she was joking or just genuinely rude. Some thought it was hilarious. Others thought she was disrespectful, unprepared, or just straight up unlikable. And instead of clearing that up, she kept leaning into it because it was working. But playing a character like that comes with a hidden downside. The more you act that way on camera, the more people start to treat you like that off camera too. And eventually, even you start to believe it. She talked about how awkward it felt switching in and out of that personality. One second she's cold and dismissive for the content, and the next, the cameras stop, and everyone expects her to be normal again. That kind of switch doesn't stay clean for long, and over time it started affecting how people saw her, and more importantly, how she saw herself. Because once the audience decides that's who you are, it becomes almost impossible to convince them otherwise.
Anymore, I'm gonna try to be likable. And now my videos went from getting millions of views to nothing. No one watches what I do anymore.
Right when it felt like the momentum was slowing down, Bobbi Althoff made a move that she probably thought would reset everything. She told her audience she was falling off, that she was done, that the hype was over, that maybe this whole thing didn't last as long as she expected.
I didn't know I would fall off as quickly as I did. To be honest, I did think this was going to last a bit longer.
At first, it looked real, almost vulnerable, like she was finally being honest with herself and her audience. But then the truth came out. It wasn't real at all. It was a setup, a marketing play to launch her new podcast and bring attention back to her name. And not just any launch. She brought back Drake to try and recreate the exact moment that made her famous in the first place. On paper, it made sense. Same formula, same viral guest, same awkward dynamic.
No, I know,
So
but
I'm
I'm
gonna
just
take my
saying, I
shoes
didn't know
off.
if you want the people to know how
Choosing.
comfy we get.
Lightning in a bottle, round 2.
Being on your daughter's first birthday was a slapper.
12 months old.
But this time, something felt different. The audience wasn't surprised anymore. The mystery was gone. And instead of feeling natural, the whole thing started to feel forced, like she was trying to recreate a moment that had already passed. And the worst part, people could tell. What was supposed to be a clever comeback started looking like desperation. And instead of bringing her back into the spotlight, it exposed just how much she needed it.
It made me more money, right? It made
Yeah,
me
but
more.
it's not just about the money. It's
It
about
is
the
about
craft.
money.
It's about the love.
Everything
of the
is about
inner-
money.
about the-
This was supposed to be the moment, the comeback, the reset, the viral explosion that put Bobbi Althoff right back on top. Because bringing back Drake wasn't just a big move. It was the move. The same pairing that originally blew her up, now returning to prove it wasn't a fluke. But instead of going viral for the right reasons, it went viral for something completely different. As the interview unfolded, the tone felt off. Not awkward in a funny way, awkward in a painful way. And instead of playing along, Drake started subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, clowning her. Jokes about her parenting, comments about her reputation, moments where it felt like he was completely in control, and she wasn't even aware of it.
You're cute. They don't think you look 40 in the face. You know, they think lovely things about you. And
those were the clips that spread everywhere. Not her humor, not her personality, not her character, just her getting embarrassed. For the first time, the dynamic flipped. Instead of her making the guest uncomfortable, she became the one being laughed at, and the audience picked up on it instantly. What was meant to revive her image ended up damaging it even more, because now, people weren't just watching for entertainment. They were watching to see her lose control of the very thing that made her famous. And once that perception sets in, it's almost impossible to take it back. After that interview, something changed, and it was obvious. The buzz around Bobbi Althoff didn't just slow down, it vanished. Uploads became inconsistent, one episode every month, sometimes even longer. And when they did drop, they barely made noise. On paper, she was still landing big names. At one point, she even sat down with Kevin Durant, which should have been a massive moment. And to be fair, the video did get views, but not because of her. People were watching for Kevin Durant, for the rarity of him doing interviews, not for the host sitting across from him. And that's a dangerous place for any creator to be, when your content works in spite of you, not because of you. At the same time, the quality didn't improve. The conversations still felt surface level. The research still felt lacking, and the same awkward formula that once felt fresh now just felt empty. Even the brand deals started to feel off. Collaborations and sponsorships came across more like forced partnerships than natural fits. Like she was trying to hold on to relevance any way she could, and the numbers reflected it. Views dropped, clips stopped circulating, the internet moved on. What made it worse is that she could see it happening in real time, because for the first time since she blew up, there was no hype to fall back on. At this point, Bobbi Althoff realized something had to change, so she tried to fix it. She toned it down, dropped the rude energy, started being more open, more polite, more likable. On paper, that sounds like the right move, but online, it completely backfired. The views didn't go up, they dropped even harder. The same audience that once loved her content suddenly stopped watching altogether. And that's when she said something that pretty much explained everything. No one cared about nice Bobbi. The personality she tried to escape was the only reason people were there in the first place. And now she was stuck. Because going back meant leaning into a version of herself people already started to dislike. But moving forward meant losing the last bit of attention she had left. And that's when the real pressure kicked in. Because now it wasn't just about content anymore. It was about survival. As her content slowed down, something else started speeding up. The noise, the comments, the criticism, the constant stream of people picking her apart. And unlike before, Bobbi Althoff wasn't brushing it off anymore. She started reading everything. Filtering comments, blocking certain words, watching videos about her own downfall.
Do you want to know what I did last night?
Yes.
I watched a 45-minute video on YouTube about my fall off.
Even admitting that a huge portion of her time was spent thinking about what people were saying about her online. And you could see the shift. One moment she's saying she doesn't care. The next, she's venting about the hate. Then joking about it. Then crying about it on camera. It became a cycle. She'd say the comments don't matter, but then react to them anyway. She'd claim she's confident, but then delete videos that didn't perform well.
Whatever, I would delete them, of course, after a day because I don't want to leave a history of me failing.
She'd act like she was in control, while clearly being affected by everything. At one point, she even started trying to label her critics, saying they all came from the same type of people, the same mindset. Almost like putting them in a box made it easier to ignore what they were actually saying. But the truth was much simpler. The audience wasn't confused. They weren't misunderstanding her. They just stopped enjoying the content. And instead of accepting that, she started fighting the very people who made her relevant in the first place. And once you reach that point, the problem isn't the algorithm anymore. It's the relationship with your audience. With everything slipping away, Bobbi Althoff made one last move. She decided to go back. Back to the same character. Back to the same attitude. Back to the same formula that made her famous in the first place. And this time, she didn't even try to hide it. She openly admitted that the nice version of herself wasn't working. That the rude, awkward persona made more money, got more views, and that's what people actually wanted. So the plan was simple. Bring the character back. Lean into it harder. Pretend like nothing ever changed. But there was one major problem. The audience had already seen behind the curtain. They knew it was a character now. They knew she was forcing it. They knew she was doing it for views. And once that illusion is broken, it doesn't hit the same. What used to feel natural now felt scripted. What used to feel funny now felt try hard. What used to feel unpredictable now felt repetitive. Even worse, she started deleting underperforming videos again, trying to erase any sign that things weren't working. But by that point, it didn't matter, because the numbers weren't the real issue anymore. The trust was gone. The mystery was gone. The moment was gone. And at this stage, no matter how many times she tries to recreate the past, it's never going to feel the way it did the first time. At first glance, it's easy to say Bobbi Althoff just fell off. But the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't random. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't the algorithm. It wasn't even the audience turning on her for no reason. It was the foundation. Her entire rise was built on a character, a moment, a style that was never meant to last forever. And once people understood it, once they saw behind it, once the mystery disappeared, there was nothing left to hold on to. No strong connection, no loyal fan base, no real identity outside the bit. And that's why every attempt to come back keeps failing. Because you can't recreate something that only worked when people didn't fully understand it. Now, she's stuck in a loop, trying to be the version of herself that made her famous, while knowing that same version is what's pushing people away. And that's the harsh reality of internet fame. Some creators grow with their audience, and others get trapped in the moment that made them viral. And once that moment passes, there's no going back. If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives just like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know who you want me to cover next.